Mr. Chair, before we get started, I'd like to notify the Chair that I'll be dividing my block up 3 ways. Thank you. Through the Chair to the Environment Minister, roughly 97% of Canadian oil gets to the USA by pipeline. Does the Environment Minister agree that Canada should build new pipelines to get Canadian oil to non-USA markets?
L'honorable ministre.
The Honourable Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
And we've been very clear as a government. Canadians want to see us build things. They want to see us build it properly, taking into account the environment, taking into account making sure that we are consulting with Indigenous peoples. It's not for me, as the Minister of Environment, to choose which projects are there. That is something that is happening through conversations between the provinces and territories and the...
For Skeena Bulkley Valley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. National consensus will be required from all provinces for pipelines to be built in Canada. To the Environment Minister, through the Chair, will consensus be required by all federal ministers as well?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Chair, we have tabled the Building Canada Act. And in that act, there is a process that is set out very clearly as to how decisions will be made. I think that this is a moment to build on the unity that we saw last week between the Prime Minister and premiers from all across our country.
Full member for Skeena Bulkley Valley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And through the Chair of the Environment Minister, will this Liberal government require consensus from First Nations for an environmental certificate to be issued?
The Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Chair, let's be really clear. Making sure that Indigenous peoples are part of the process and that they are consulted is fundamental to the way that national interest projects will be chosen.
Member for Skeena Bulkley Valley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And my question to the Environment Minister. British Columbia has already said no to oil pipelines, and it seems this Liberal government will obey that demand regardless of the tariff crisis. My question to the Environment Minister, is this a veto?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Chair, once again, I will go back to the fact that last week we had a moment of incredible unity with the premiers and the Prime Minister together sitting down and talking about how we build national interest projects. That is what we will be supporting, is making sure that because that is what Canadians want to see from us.
Skeena Bulkley Valley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know this Liberal government doesn't believe in a First Nations veto, but does this apply to the approval of an environmental certificate under the one project, one review model, or even Bill C-5?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Chair, I don't understand where this member is going, because if he's trying to say that Indigenous people should not be consulted as part of projects, I will say definitively that he is incorrect. Indigenous people must be part of the process and consultation.
The Honourable Member for Skeena Bulkley Valley.
This Liberal government will reduce project approval from 5 to 3 years, but the environmental assessment already states that certificate decisions will be decided upon 1 year of environmental commencement. My question to the Environment Minister, is there a reason why the 1 year approval process as laid out in the environmental assessment is being ignored?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Chair, what we have put forward in the Building Canada's Act is a process by which national interest projects can be chosen, because we are in an extreme moment facing the threat from the United States to our sovereignty and to our economy. We're meeting that moment through this Act, and we will keep working to build.
Skeena Bulkley Valley.
Mr. Chair, decarbonization will be a requirement for oil export to non-USA markets. Will this decarbonization requirement be applied to oil exports going to the United States?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Chair, as a country, we have committed to getting to net zero by 2050. In fact, the provinces are all in that direction as well. This is something that we need to do to remain competitive as a country, as we're facing countries that are looking for clean technologies. And so absolutely, I will not shy away from saying that we need...
We'll now move on to the honourable member for Portage-Lisgar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Does the minister still support the unconstitutional ban on single-use plastics?
Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Chair, there are certain single-use plastics that have been listed in a regulation, and that is something that absolutely we stand by as we look to the world moving in that.
The honourable member for Portage-Lisgar.
If they lose the court appeal, will they abandon their costly war on plastics?
The honourable Minister of the Environment.
This gives me a chance to actually flag we are in global treaty negotiations around the world looking to how we move away from plastic waste.
The honourable member for Portage-Lisgar.
Speaking of global treaties, do you support a global maritime carbon tax on everything that we import to this country?
The honourable Minister of the Environment, but I would remind members to go through the chair. The honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Chair, again, what I support, what our government supports, is making sure that we have a competitive economy that meets the global moment we're in.
The honourable.
I agree, that is a great moment to reach, but according to Deloitte regarding the plastics ban that they are proposing, it would raise the produce prices 34% and increase food waste by 50%. Given the rising food bank use and the cost of groceries right now, is that a good idea, Minister?
The honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Chair, the affordability crisis that is in this moment that we have been actually working towards. I have a question for the member opposite. Does he support a national school food program?
The honourable member for Portage-Lisgar.
Minister,
through the chair, please.
In your view, which is more environmentally friendly, moving oil by rail or by pipeline?
The honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Chair, my opinion on that is that as we are moving towards a net zero economy, we must always work to make sure that we are working towards national interest projects that take into account many different issues.
The honourable member for Portage-Lisgar.
Very clear question. Pipeline or rail?
The honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Chair, I'll go back to my initial point. It's not my job to choose the project. My job is to make sure that when that decision is made, the environment is taken into account.
The honourable member for Portage. The honourable member, yes, the member from King's Hands.
I'll keep it very brief. You're more than capable of keeping time, and I think, honourable members, I'm here to listen to what the minister has to say, and I think the chair can keep time, and we don't need honourable members screaming time when the minister's trying to actually respond to the question, Mr. Chair.
Keep the time, and it can be a challenge, but thank you to the honourable member for King's Hands. The member for Portage-Lisgar.
Does the minister believe that the NDP Premier of British Columbia has a veto over pipelines to the Pacific Coast? Yes or no?
The honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure why the members opposite are moving away from wanting to celebrate what Canadians wanted to see, which is a unity between premiers and the Prime Minister that we saw last week.
The honourable member for Portage-Lisgar.
Speaking of moving away, I'll go back to the previous question. Pipeline or rail? Pick one.
The honourable Minister of the Environment.
Same question, same answer. Not my job to pick. My job is to make sure we take into account the environment in every decision we make.
The honourable member for Portage-Lisgar.
As the Environment Minister, through you, Mr. Chair, are you supportive of a new pipeline in Canada in any direction?
The honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Speaker, the answer remains the same. My job is to make sure that we take into account the environment when we're making decisions. My job as the Minister of Environment is not to choose specific projects.
The honourable member for Portage-Lisgar.
The Prime Minister has said that there must be consensus for any new pipelines. Can you define consensus for me, Minister?
Again, through the chair, the Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Chair, What Canadians want to see is us working together. And I'm going to say that applies to the members across the way. They want to see us to meet this moment when we're facing the challenges from the President Trump. I hope that they are willing to help us.
Are there any individual groups or individuals across this country that hold a veto that could break up that possible consensus?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Chair, what consensus is they referring to? Like, they they're literally speaking in the way of hypotheticals. I'm not sure what they were referring to, and so they might be celebrating.
We'll go now to the Honourable Member for Swift Current, Grasslands, Kindersley.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. It appears that the moment has already passed for consensus in the country. We heard it here today from the Minister. I got a separate question for the Minister, though. Will the government remove the emissions cap, yes or no?
Honourable Minister of the Environment.
First of all, to be clear, what I said was that I did not understand the consensus to which they were referring. But as far as speaking about us being united last week, the premiers and the Prime Minister leaving that meeting and saying that we were at a moment to build Canada together, yes, there was that agreement.
The Honourable Member for Swift Current, Grasslands, Kindersley.
Well, she's saying that there's no veto, but we saw the Premier from British Columbia get up clearly and say that he would absolutely not support any pipelines. So how can she stand up here and say there's national unity when it's been very clear from the Premier of British Columbia that there is no consensus?
Minister of the Environment.
Is the member opposite trying to say that they would rather sow division in this moment when we're facing President Trump's threat to our sovereignty and to our economy? Or are they willing to join us in building a strong economy together?
The Honourable Member for Swift Current, Grasslands, Kindersley.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the division has already been sown within their cabinet. In fact, actually, there's two separate environment ministers around the table. Does she agree with that?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Last time I checked, Mr. Chair, there's one Minister of Environment and Climate Change, and that's me.
Honourable Member for Swift Current, Grasslands, Kindersley.
Well, the previous minister declared that there would be no new pipelines, but yet he's also saying that he is still an environment minister at the cabinet table. How does the minister feel about that?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Chair, I don't think that it's for me to speak to any feelings that anyone has, particularly the feelings I'm hearing from across the way. The most important part is that we work in unity in this moment.
Well, the honourable member for Swift Current, Grasslands, Kindersley.
Mr. Speaker, she says that they're working in unity, but the only unity that we're seeing is that they don't want to see another export pipeline built in Canada. Is there consensus or is there not?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Chair, what I hope is that the member opposite will support the Build Canada Act, which gives us the opportunity to build projects in the national interest. We have a very important moment that we need to face. I don't hear that support. Are they supporting it?
Well, the member for Swift Current, Grasslands, Kindersley.
Will the Act build a pipeline in Canada, yes or no?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Chair, will they support building projects of national interest, or will they not?
The Honourable Member for Swift Current, Grasslands, Kindersley.
Will it build a pipeline, yes or no?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Chair, there are factors that are set out in the legislation, which I would be happy to read if they would like. So my question is, will they support the legislation?
For Swift Current, Grasslands, Kindersley.
Will it build a pipeline?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Chair, there are national interest projects that our entire country needs to see built. My question is, will they be supporting the premiers from across the country?
The Honourable Member for Swift Current, Grasslands, Kindersley.
Mr. Chair, she has not said the word pipeline once, so I ask her one more time, will the bill build a pipeline, yes or no?
Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Again, it's not my job to pick which projects will be built. My job is to make sure that the environment is considered as we make those decisions, and the legislation allows for that specifically.
Member for Swift Current, Grasslands, Kindersley.
She still hasn't said the word pipeline here in this House. Why won't she say the word pipeline?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Chair, I am choosing my words to go with the fact that we have national interest projects that need to be built. It's not for me to choose which ones they are, but I will be making sure we build in the national interest.
Member for Swift Current Grasslands
So
Kindersley.
she's going off of the facts. She's saying that there is no mention of pipelines in there. So it sounds like they were not going to get pipelines built. Now, if there is national consensus, if they are able to get it, will Cabinet veto it as it was given them in the Impact Assessment Act?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
I find it rich coming from the Conservatives who were unable to build any projects over their time because they did not care for the environment and they did not do Indigenous consultation.
Swift Current Grasslands Kindersley.
What is the average wage in the oil and gas sector?
Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Chair, it's not for me to start talking about average salaries or salaries, but what I will say is we're going to make sure there are good paying union jobs right across this country and building a strong.
Thank you. Now